guys, BBI here. I want to stop and say thanks for tuning in and checking out whatever the video is about that's about ready to come up next. If you could take a minute and hit subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you've seen here, make sure to hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate your support. Anyhow, guys, all that aside, let's get on with the show. Well, gentlemen, we're going to sit here this morning. We're going to talk about this little LA900. My customer sent me this thing and he says it's not working. I said, okay. He ended up popping a couple of the finals, he got it from eBay. And I see some obvious stuff that I'm not too digging. And I see some trace work that needs to be redone around in this area. And then I see areas like this where the screws go through and they're making contact with the board, and the same thing going on over here, down in there. And I don't see any contact on this screw hole. But this here is bad. We don't want to have a screw making contact there. So we're going to go through and we're going to clean this up. He's stating it's not working, so we're going to go through and we're going to figure out what the heck. And see if we can get this thing in working order for him real quick. I'm pretty sure it's just something not soldered together right, because everything is in there correctly, and I don't see any reasons why this shouldn't work. How this amp actually works is the RF comes in here, goes through the driver stage, which he's got a 2290 in here. So the RF comes in here on this transistor, gets amplified, and then it comes out on this trace here that runs across, goes to the splitter, and then the splitter gets the signal split. Hold on a second. I'll call you back later, whoever you are, sir. I just don't see anything that'd be pulling this to ground, and I don't see any of the imbalance, like the balance resistor that's down here isn't burnt, but what I do see is a lot of really questionable solder work. So I'm going to go ahead and test this thing and see if we can figure out where the signal's going to ground, and then we're going to clean the solder work up. So give me just a sec. Alright, well, we had signal that was making it to the input transformer on the 1-pil driver section, and we actually had signal coming out, but we had this wonderful little hunk of loveliness that was chilling up in here by the splitter. So signal comes down this trace, comes down this trace here, comes down, goes across, and it hits over here on the splitter, and then the signal is equally split. So the upper half of the signal goes here, and the lower half, or the lower half and the upper half and the lower half. Okay, so the signal gets split, and so only being push-pull, one side's going to be on, one side's going to be off. Anyhow, I pulled the caps out so it'd be easier for me to just be able to move around in here and see what was going on, and this is what I found. And as soon as I pulled this out, the amp popped right back up, come up to life. It was making 400 or 500 watts of power. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to clean up all this chicken poo that's in here, and I got to take the driver section apart, and I want to clean the wires up so it electrically makes better sense for amp management. What I mean by amp management is literally amperage management. If we look down in here, we can see somebody else has already overcome the issue, kind of sloppily, but they overcome the issue of the too long of case screws. They've cut this trace and cut this trace, and over here by the high, medium, and low bleeder pack, this trace comes along. It's been cut in several places, and they've jumped over it with the trace wire. So I don't see anything in here that should really slow me down, other than I got to clean it up and make it look all nice and neat and pretty again. So give me just a few and we'll get that done. Bump, bump. Okay, so I got all the solder work cleaned up on the inside of this thing. And clean this up over here, the 1-pil driver section. I made it so it's electrically correct. And we changed the combiner resistor, this one here, right here, because this one was not in the best shape. So I replaced it with a new 100 ohm resistor. And just so we don't have to listen to the noise of the fans running. My lover, what is going on?
Bye, baby, I'm leaving.
Okay, sweetie. My wonderful wife just stepped out here and so she's taking off. We'll lay this thing up on its side so we don't have to listen to the noise of the fans running. Otherwise it's... Yeah, so lay this up on its side. So let's go ahead and let's run around the lap here real quick. That's a 1,000 watt slug in peak, 1,000 in average, 5 watt slug in reverse, same, and same. Around about 14 volts. Use a 2950, 5 watt slug between the 2950 and of course the LA900. We're going to be on high. Show you drive. Hello. Pass-through tune isn't overly bad. Hello. All right. So let's go ahead and we'll turn the LA on. We're in high. Now let's go up here real quick. Preamp was not functional because the transistor was smushed down against the board and it was making contact. So I stood the transistor up and thank God the transistor was still good. So that's all working. Let's see here. Yeah. Let's hit it for a second. Almost 800 watts. We'll call that a win, I think, in my book. Let's go ahead and do the sideband delay. Sideband delay is working perfectly. So let's start out in low. So here's low input. Here's low output power. About 600 watts. About 200 bird. Let's go on up to medium. About 700 watts. About 210 bird. And we'll go on up here to high. Almost full 800 watts. About 350 bird. Now, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. This has been a very tumultuous last couple weeks between me managing the tow business and in the middle of this last week, my grandmother having a pretty catastrophic fall. Has been all hands on board helping her, and this is my first full day back in 2 weeks working on anything. So this is a project from almost 3.5 weeks ago that I was trying to get to 3 weeks ago. I'm just now getting around to getting it done. Only took me about an hour and a half, but still, it feels unbelievably good to be back to work. So, coming up, I've got a Palomar amp that I'm going to do, all band, all mode. I got a little Killer B250 I've got to look at, and then I've got a whole stack of X-Force amplifiers I've got to work on and look at. So, I'm back. Trust me, it will be reflected on the Facebook page, and it will be reflected in the voicemail and how quickly I'm able to get back to your guys' calls. So, feet are on the ground, and we're off to the races and running. Gentlemen, I cannot stress this enough. I appreciate everybody's patience and everybody's support and the insane amount of projects that I have sitting here that I have to work my way through. I am almost at my full capacity to where I cannot take any more repairs on at the moment. Almost. Not there yet, but getting pretty close. So please keep that in mind. Gentlemen, I've got to run. You'll probably see yet another video out today because I've got a bunch of projects I want to work through as fast and as quickly as I can. You got any questions? Anything? Call this number. I'll get to you as soon as I can. On that note, bump bump from the biggest duck in Idaho by far, bar none. There's only more fun stuff to come. I'll see you guys. Bye. So I called a customer and I'm glad I did. Say, hey man, I'm glad to tell you that your LA900 is all ready to go. And he says, well, what are you getting out of it? It's about 800 watts. It was like 750 and some change. And he goes, well, is that because of the 2290 driver that was in it? And I said, yes. And so he goes, well, why don't you go ahead and put a 2879 in there? And I said, okay. So I went ahead and I matched up the 2879 with all the other ones, which are HGs. And I slapped it in there real quick. And when I was pulling the 2879 out, whoa, look at that. Look at that little flick of crap. That's bad news. Get that out of there. Wow, that could have been catastrophic. Well, got it caught before we had a problem. Okay, so I noticed that the screws that were holding the transistors down weren't tight. So I went ahead and I checked all of these, and they were all about a half a turn to a turn from being tight. So I'm glad we caught that, otherwise this thing would have run for about 5-10 keys on his end, and then it would have gone poof, because the transistors have gotten so hot that the only thing that was making contact with the heatsink was the heatsink compound. Okay, same routine as before here. 1000, 1000, 5. Peak, average, reverse, and 5-watt slug between the 2950. We're going to see significantly more output potential here. Let's start down on low. Remember, low is about 600 watts. Low. Now we're up to a full 700. I'm going to go and go to medium. Low. Medium is now 800. And high. Low. Is our 900 watts. Just by changing that one transistor from a 2290 to a 2879. So Mr. M, you're set, my friend. I am looking forward to your call here in a little bit, and we'll get this thing buttoned up and sent home to you ASAP. On to the next one, gentlemen. I'll see you. Bye.